Just when we thought we've heard everything we needed to know surrounding the slap, more reactions continue to come out. On Monday, Jaden Smith would post a gif of Martin Lawrence sarcastically laughing. Many would assume this is Jaden's subliminal response to the special, especially considering before that post, he hadn't tweeted in 6 days. Today we have our company hype analysts Danielle Miller, Capone, and Pierre calling to the show to give their thoughts and reactions. Now, Danielle, I'm going to start with you because, as you know, we've talked about this early in the week, so I want to get your reaction to the special and the outrage. What are your thoughts to it?
I think the title of the special was brilliant, selective outrage, because even as I scrolled through Twitter, he proved his point that the fact that people went through that special and picked and chose exactly what they wanted to be upset about with him. I think Chris had some really funny points, and then I think he had some things that weren't so funny. But all in all, what I can say, especially at the end of that, is it did seem like when he threw the mic on the ground and you saw like his eyes well up with water, it sort of felt like a venting session, which I could see that being that, as Sherry Shepherd said on her show, like it's the stage is therapy in the profession of comedy and as well as other professions like acting and stuff. So that acted as his therapy, and I think it was also brilliant that he did it live, being synopsis with the fact that the Oscar was live and you couldn't run away from that slap.
And that's a great point to put on there, that it was live. Now, Pierre, I'm going to come to you. You know, we've had this conversation, and now we're, you know, or people are assuming that we're hearing from Jaden or seeing Jaden respond to this. Have you seen the gift that Jaden posted of Martin Lawrence?
Well, the laughing one, yeah. I mean, you know, let's keep on stirring the pot of this soup of just, of just shitness. He say this, his family said this, cousin, this keeps comedy hyping, and all of us, entertained. I guess at the end of the day, I mean, it's entertainment now. It's become the entertainment. Ain't nothing gonna happen but just back and forth, and what's next? One of the Rock family members is gonna do something, and then back one of the Will Smith family members, and we just in the middle of just watching this go back and forth, play itself out. But I'm past it. But, both of them did what they had to. Well, they had to do, but Will did what he did, and Chris Rock did what he did. I'm past it, but that'll mean they have to be past it. So
yeah. And I love that. Just because we feel a way, it doesn't mean that we have to rush their process. So I think we'll continue to see this kind of unfold. But let me bring you in, Capone. I know we've talked about it. Now we're, seeing things from Jaden. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear from Tony Rock. As Pierre mentioned, we might hear from the Rock family. But specifically for Jaden, have you seen the GIF, and what are your thoughts and reactions to it?
I think kids need to stay out of grown folks' business.
Oh, watch your mouth now. Let me.
Ooh, child.
Yeah, stay out of grown folks' business, man. I mean, however you look at it, there's a reaction for every action, and I think Chris did what he had to do. I think both guys, should just leave it alone. Like now, I mean, it doesn't make me a difference either way. It's done is done. I think whatever Will did, Chris, only way he knew how to retaliate was get on that mic and say what he said, and he did it well.
Absolutely. Spoken like a true dad. I remember being told I need to stay in a child's place. Danielle, let me bring you in because I heard your reaction to it. So I want to get your reaction on this as well. And I want to make sure I'm continuously saying, there's no for sure that this is Jaden responding, but a lot of people are assuming because it's coming after the special. So I want to know, what's your thoughts and reactions to the gift?
I think we shouldn't assume. I think if it is a reaction to the special, I think Jaden should speak straight, talk straight, and say what it is that you have to say. But I could agree with Capone a bit when he says, that's grown people's business, but at the same time, like, that's your dad. So you're gonna feel that tug on your heart to defend him, especially because in the special, Chris said that Jada was dealing with Jaden's friend. So you're going to feel some type of way, but I just think either you talk straight or don't say anything at all. That's my sentiments on it.
So
that's
here,
1990. That's 1990, Danielle. The kids don't do that nowadays. I'm just saying people don't do that. They don't talk straight today. Today, they don't talk straight. It's all that kind of subliminal shit left and right. So I understand what you're saying, but you're talking, you need to go back in the 90s when I was coming up, when people tell you in your face, you ain't shit.
So let me ask you this then, Pierre. If you're Jaden and you're in this situation where you're hearing, Chris Rock talk about your mom and your dad in a special on a platform like Netflix, how are you responding if you're Jaden?
Same way. I mean, this is a shit show. Let's throw everything up in here. You know what I'm saying? Like she said, that's my father. I'm gonna say how I want to speak about my father. He's on social media. He has a following, so he does promote stuff and say other stuff. So he's a person of social media. So when that comes, people ain't always gonna move to the side and say, well, I'm gonna pick this to talk about, not this to talk about. If it's like he's like Danielle, the lovely, beautiful, vivacious Danielle said, hey, it's my father. So I'm gonna throw in my little chime, and he threw it in as lightly as he did. He didn't want to, put his chest into it, you know what I'm saying, a little bird chest into it. So he threw a little fucking meme of Martin laughing, shit. Now we got to dissect. Is this about him? Is it not about Chris Rock? Is it about just something to do? Nigga, say it with your chest, with your little bird chest. Put it out there.
Now, Pierre, you talked about the 1990s. You calling a meme a meme. You sounded like you back in the day, like.
You know what? You know what the hell I was talking about. Okay?
And I did.
The gift, the goof, the gas, or whatever. You know what the hell we talking about.
You're right. It's all confusing. I say give, jiff, who knows? But Capone, let me bring you in. Capone, you're saying, you should stay in a child's place, but I'm curious to know if you're Jaden and you're in this situation, hearing your mom talked about in a special, as big as Netflix, or on a platform as big as Netflix, how are you responding to it?
That's a real tough question, as simple as it sounds, because I remember trying to interfere in some stuff where growing up was arguing with my mother, and I jumped in, and even though they were two adults arguing, and my mother would tell me, look, mind your business, be respectful. So it's like a hard question. I would definitely want to defend her, but my mother would have probably been wanting to handle it herself.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are even assuming that Will Smith, that's some of the reason why Jaden isn't going in as hard, because maybe Will Smith is on the side kind of telling his family to relax. And I'm going to reveal just a few more details about that in just a moment. But first, Danielle, I want your reaction. I know you kind of touched on how you think it should be handled. So I'm curious, if you're in Jaden's situation, how do you respond to this?
So if I was in Jaden's situation, I don't know, man. I don't know, because okay. So women don't fight me. Y'all don't come for me in the comments, right? But the thing is, did Chris Rock lie? All of us, wait, some people get cheated on, right? Because I don't know, some of us get cheated on, but none of us were really interviewed by the person that we were cheated on the internet. So it's literally like, they put their business out there, and when you put something out there, you put it out there for it to be critiqued, right? I mean, when people put movies out there, it's critiqued. When we do Comedy Hype, people in the comments talk and say what they have to say, and we know we'll be critiqued. So it's the same thing with Will and Jada, and I do think they are very talented. Let me just say this too. I appreciated Will and Jada for what they did, because it showed the world that not everything is perfect, right? So for Jaden, because I know the celebrity status my parents had, and knowing the fact that they put it out there, I wouldn't have no vendetta against Chris Rock or anybody else. I'll just have to swallow that pill and just continue to work. And hopefully my work and my family work speaks for ourselves, and then it'll just blow over eventually.
Well, hold on. And that sounds good. And You're right. They put it out and all this kind of stuff. But here's the thing with the Black community, which we were talking about in this thing, people were talking about it. It's calling her a bitch. Now, and that's opinion. That's not factual. Now, you might call it factual to yours, it's still opinion. So if someone called your mama a bitch, that
right.
bitch did so-and-so, would you be like, well, my mother did do this, but you might say, hold up, calling my mama a bitch? Hold up.
So Pierre, you have a point, because I totally forgot the biatch, and he said that with passion when he said
What?
So now, because even when he did it, I was like, what is going on here? And I think if hearing that about my mother,
right?
So
Yeah,
we live in LA. I know where you live. I'm not going on the internet. I come into your house. That's just me. I come into your house. I'm sorry.
And I think that's a perfect time to go to commercial break. And when we come back, the Kiana Dancy is actually going to be sitting down with our in-house writer, Dom Smith, to talk a little bit more about this. Because as you know, Dave Chappelle was backstage and she was there with him. So we'll get some details on that. When we come back, we'll see how that goes. Stay tuned.
Culture sounds like jumping the broom. Like dancing to Never Too Much with your groom, it sounds like the electric slide. Like so much food on your plate, it starts to curve on the sides, it sounds like Boo Boo the Fool and McDonald's money. And what keeps all of this intact is the simple fact that my mama black.
Thank you so much, Symphony. I'm here at Comedy Hype with the Kiana Dancy, who has an insider scoop because she was actually at the Chris Rock taping on Saturday when he filmed Selective Outrage. How are you, Kiana?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for joining us. So,
Well, thank you for having me.
this isn't your first time seeing Chris Rock's set. What was your reaction to watching, the live taping, especially compared to, you've seen those jokes before?
You know what? It wasn't my first time. I saw him in Atlanta. I traveled with him to Charleston. And then, of course, I saw the taping in Baltimore. So it was kind of like the run-up, the practice games. And then here's the championship game, which is actually the taping of Netflix. It was phenomenal. Just to watch him, how he was doing the shows prior, his retweaking, his writing, his editing. And then for him to see the final show, it was fantastic.
That's dope. And because you were familiar with the material, did you predict any of the outrage that was, that's come out now?
Well, I kept thinking, I was like, I wonder if he's gonna keep this. I wonder if he's gonna keep that. I've even offered, like, say this instead of that or whatever. I don't know if I can get any credit for anything that he's done on his special, but there was definitely some things that I thought that he was going to keep in that he took out and vice versa. I would tell you, the night of the show, it seemed like he was in a different place. He was very focused. Very, very, laser focused. There was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of media in the room, a lot of supporters in the room. And then they got to the point where they were like, everybody out. So he was really focused on just delivering this, with flawlessly. And even though I noticed some things that was not perfect, it was still, you had to have seen it set before to really know what was changed or if there were any balls at all dropped.
We saw Dave was also in attendance backstage at the Chris Rock show. Did Dave give any support for Chris that night?
I don't know if he had any one-on-one words with Chris prior to performing, but it was a lot of people in the room. Dave Chappelle was in the room, Spike Lee was in the room, Sam J was in the room, Kiana Dancy was in the room. We all were in the room supporting him, being there, lifting him up. But it was also a lot of people that you guys have never ever heard of, a lot of industry people, upper executives from Live Nation and different agents. Steve Levine, who is Joan Rivers' agent. There was amazing people in the room that you just did not know who they were. John Laster, who's a comedian out of New York. After the show, there was a lot of one-on-one with Dave. He got on the mic at the after party and was like, man, you killed it. And, they had been on the road together, I think over 100 shows together all over the world. And this was the run-up. They were prepping. Well, Chris was prepping for his live special. So, I think Dave essentially was very proud of Chris. He was very supportive of Chris. He was in the room he could have been anywhere, but he showed up to support Chris Rock do this live taping. And I wouldn't have missed it either. So I believe wholeheartedly that, they're friends, they care about each other, they love each other. And I'm sure many times Chris have run some material past Dave and vice versa.
So for the past year, you've opened up for, both Chris and Dave. So what have you learned from them opening up?
So I've opened for Dave, not Chris. I was in the room there. He was at the Atlanta Comedy Theater this couple months ago working on his set. So let's just make sure that's on record, as clear. I learned so much watching them. Let me tell you something. Dave and Chris are very different in the way that they create. But they're still very meticulous. Chris is analytical. He writes, he postcards and moving around. It's a whole, just like in the beginning of the special, you saw him going through it, writing and changing it. And it's just interesting to watch him work because I'm not that meticulous. I find my material sometimes on stage. I'm like, ooh, that's good. And then I go put it in a text, or I write it on the phone clip, or write a little voice note. But I'm not that meticulous. But that might also be why Netflix haven't offered me a $40 million bag. So I think one of the things that I learned specifically from them both is own whatever you say. If it's how you feel, how you feel. When that man said he thinks the women have the right to have an abortion up until the kid is 4 years old. Now, and we know what he meant, right? It was with humor. It was funny. I don't think he necessarily mean that women can go throw their kids off of the bridge at 4 years old. But what he was essentially saying was, women have the choice whether you're going to be pro or pro-life, whatever your decision is. It's up to you, women. It's your body. And same for Dave. Dave says a lot of things that makes us say, ooh. But guess what? It's his opinion, it's his material, and he owns it. Definitely. So listen, I really don't like when people say something, then come back and apologize. No. Do all that thinking before you say it out your mouth so that you won't have to go back and apologize. Because 9 times out of 10, what you say, somebody is going to be offended. Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to be offended about something because that's just life. Everybody's so sensitive. They're always in their feelings. Everybody's always crying and whining. It's just a mess. So just be ready to know that you're going to offend somebody and just own it.
Mm-hmm. It's just jokes.
It's just jokes. And you know, sometimes jokes can hit hard and they can be nasty and they can be mean and they can hit below the belt. But again, when you say it, you own it. Don't start backpedaling because now you got negative energy or negative press about it. Own it. Make sure you guys follow me at Kiana Dancy on all social media platforms, including TikTok. And Kiana Dancy is also on my website. Get my book. Don't forget to get my journal. I love you guys. Y'all take care, okay?
That was a great segment with Dom Smith, sitting down with the Kiana Dancy. You know, it's always great having her on the platform, so I appreciate being able to have that part of the conversation. Now, to move us along and to close us out, as I mentioned, there were some sources. According to people, sources say Will is still remorseful a year after the dreadful slap. He felt terrible for a long time, and it also says that he has still been trying to reach out to Chris, but he has not been able to succeed. So, Pierre, I want to come to you because I know you're one that's like, hey, let's move on. I'm done. You know, it is what it is. Do you think Will Smith should also kind of fall in line with that of like, hey, you know what? I've reached out for, this time and he's still not responding. Should Will Smith kind of just walk away and leave it alone? Pierre?
All right, when I say move on, I'm talking about me personally move on from all this.
Yeah.
I can't tell another man to move on from what he went through. I can't tell him to do that. Now, again, placing myself in that position, which I haven't been, and I'm just speaking in a place that I've never been in, so I can't really say, but I'll get, entertain this panel with that, Will has done a lot to try to prove that, to show that he's remorseful and he's ready, and he's sorry. I think he's done enough. I think it's time to, he needs to move on and wait for Chris to come to him. You done did everything, put it out, the videos on it and so forth. You've shown, you had statements that you're apologetic and it's a bad move. Well, it's now time for him to move on and wait for Chris to come and maybe want to, open the door and have a discussion. If he doesn't ever want to have a discussion, then, man, I did what I did. Sometimes I have to realize in life, sometimes you can apologize to somebody and it's up to them how they take it, what they do with it. You've done your job. I'm sorry for what I've done. None else I can really do. I can't reverse the moment, the time. So with that being said, I'm apologetic. I'm sorry. If you want to talk about it, cool. If not, no. But I wouldn't keep on going out and keep asking for somebody to receive an apology after I know I heartfeltly gave it to you that I'm sorry. After that, it's up to you. And then, you have every right to work on it for as long as you need.
Absolutely. Let me bring you in, Capone. Same question. We're seeing from sources that Will Smith is still trying to reach out to Chris Rock, but Chris Rock is not responding or hasn't responded to it. What are your thoughts? Do you think Will Smith should kind of just, leave it alone and just let things die out?
No, I don't think he should let it die out. I think there comes a time in life that you don't want to live with regrets. Mm. And you can tell by his apologetic statements that he really regrets it. And it probably won't be any kind of satisfaction until he does speak to him. I'm putting myself in the Will segment because I'll be damned if I be the one to get smacked. So I'm going to say that, if I did something wrong to that level, I would be seeking the person to apologize to them too. And however they take it, that's nothing I can control. But to give myself peace, I would keep reaching out until I talk to him.
Danielle, same question. Want your thoughts as well? We're seeing that Will Smith is trying to reach out. Do you think he should kind of back off and let things die out?
Okay, so where's like Pierre and Capone, like the thing that the Zen thing that y'all do? The Zen. Yeah. The Zen. I think you should leave it alone. If I was Will, I ain't apologizing no more after you called my wife a bitch again. And I'm happy Pierre brought that point up, because now thinking back to the special, at some point in there, he only touched on Will for about maybe let's say hypothetically 5 seconds, and he went in on Jada for 15. And I say that because he mentioned, she said that you shouldn't host the Oscars. You want me to quit my job because your husband didn't get nominated. And the thing is here, he said, she started it, I finished it. As a man, if I were in Will's shoes, once you say that, it on like Donkey Kong, like it's on and popping. I ain't apologizing to you no more.
That's 90s. That's a 90s reference, Donkey Kong. you go back
sorry.
to 92. But...
I'm not apologizing anymore. Will, no, he's sorry for the slap, but now you can take, right now, that statement alone, she started, I'll finish it. I ain't apologizing to you no more. I'm not. I could just leave it alone and let bygones be bygones. If you come and talk to me, we'll speak about it man to man. But other than that, I ain't apologizing no more. And I don't think that he should either.
Yeah, I think we'll continue to see how things unfold. At the end of the day, honestly, I can tell there's hurt on both ends, because even, I know, Pierre, you mentioned this yesterday, at the end of the special, you could see Chris Rock was still hurting or dealing with some type of hurt, and we're hearing that Will Smith is also dealing with some hurt. So there's a lot of pain and trauma on both ends. So I just hope that both of them find peace, and whatever that looks like for them, as individually or together, I wish them both the absolute best. Now, before we go out, of course, I like to know what you have going on. So, Mr. Pierre, I'm starting with you. What do you have coming up? And of course, how can people follow you?
Comic Pierre, COMIC PIERRE. You can follow me in there. We have the final interview from actor Isaiah Washington on Pierre's Panic Room this week. It drops today it's just dropped today. His whole interview, it's very interesting. He, if you know who he is from the Grey's Anatomy and all the Spike Lee movies, he's retiring from acting. He's tired of the business and how they treat him. He hates the haters hating on him. So we sit down, we talk, and it's like I said, it's a very interesting interview. So check it out on Pierre's Panic Room on YouTube, and that's what you can, what I got coming up right now.
Absolutely. I'm going to go over to the Peace Bowl. Mr. Capone, what do you have coming up? And of course, how can people follow you?
Before I state that, I just have to make this statement very clear. It's going to be amazing, and you mark my words. This is going to be going down in our Black history. And it's amazing to me how all of the things that's been subjected to us as Black people, they're trying to erase. But this is our new Black history, where a Black man smacks another Black man on TV, and they're going to continue to show it for years to come. Trust me when I'm talking, or what I'm saying rather. So with that being said, follow me on Instagram, Comedian Capone. If you can't spell comedian, please do not follow me. Also, check me out here each and every week on Comedy Hype, where we talk about real stuff. And I will be in Pleasanton at Tommy T's in California coming up. And also, just a lot of shows. I'm filling up the calendar. I'm happy about that. So with that being said, thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing. Congratulations to all of you on all your success. Last and not least, Mr. Danielle, calling from the Bahamas. What do you have going on? And of course, how can people follow you?
While on the topic of Will Smith, I just want to put it out there again. Whenever you need somebody to be in Bad Boys 4, I am available. It doesn't matter when you're all shooting. I will make myself available. But You can follow me on Instagram at DEEA Miller. Facebook is Danielle, and make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's Danielle, DENIELLE.
Danielle, I'm shooting Bad Boy 4 with my iPhone next week. I'm in my house, in the backyard. We're shooting in the backyard. We got a crazy scene. You know what I'm saying? Real dope scene. Little shootout. Come on, man. Come to my backyard. Come to my backyard. My iPhone. Bad Boy 4. You gotta come. I got my Lululemon shirt on. Okay, Lululemon. My Lulu. Thanks, Chris.
Well, as always, I appreciate you all for chiming in on this topic. I appreciate you for, just adding a little fun to it. So thank you, all three of you, very, very much. I appreciate it. But you heard from us. Now we want it from you in the comments below. What are your thoughts of Jaden Smith's subliminal response to Chris Rock's special? For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
Put it in those comments.
In the comments.
Thought I would pee. I'll read it.
Big fan of the Comedy Hype News Show? Well, now you can join us live in studio for lunch at Comedy Hype. Click the link down below in our description or go to our Instagram page and click the link in our bio for your chance to RSVP. I hope to see you here for Comedy Hype News. I'm Symphony Thompson.